Hey guys, welcome back to Creating Careers Podcast. On today's episode, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Dylane Hurd. Dylane is an extremely talented videographer, and I was truly excited to sit down and talk with him. I personally have been a huge fan of Dylane ever since I first saw some of the work that he was doing, specifically regarding sort of the Birmingham area and the city of Birmingham itself. Dylane has had some incredible opportunities with some of the partnerships as well as some of the content that he's created. And I really am excited to share this video with you today. I think that you will greatly enjoy just this conversation and this opportunity to get to know Dylane and his work. Check it out. Dylane Hurd. And did I pronounce that correctly?
You got it right on the first try. Not many people do.
Well, it took me a little while. I think I've been referring to you as Dylan for quite some time. And then I recently watched the video where you were on the news. And then I think I didn't really listen to them say your name. But then when you said your name at the end, I was like, I'm pronouncing his name wrong. So.
No, you're all good. A lot of people say Dylan because it's spelled almost the same. So.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't sure if the A is a long A or a short A, but it's a long A, so Dylane. The E makes it a long A. I guess we should have learned that in elementary school, right?
That's it, yep.
Reading was never my strong suit. Do what?
I said sometimes we need refreshers.
Definitely. Well, man, I really am excited to talk with you today. I've been watching your stuff, especially your Instagram content for a while, and really am just blown away by first of all, just your wit and sort of your personality that comes across on the social media content, but then also your editing, man. I feel like it's super clean. Some of the stuff you do is so much more than what you would typically think of for just like a short reel, you know? So props to you on all of that. And also it seems like you've been doing a lot even outside your own social content.
Yeah. It's been a big season of freelance ever since I graduated in April or very end of April, and so I've been focusing mainly on, I guess, freelance clients right now. Just because right now my videos don't really pay the bills, but I still enjoy making them. But I've had to take somewhat of a break from making my own content to focus on freelance.
Yeah, well, as a fan of your personal content, I do hope that you don't stay away too long. I hope that you're able to make time for that, because I really genuinely think that you were extremely talented, both in the personality side of it, but then also in the editing and sort of storytelling side of it.
But yeah, thank you. I'll try not to stay away too much longer.
Good. I know how that is though, also, because I myself have tried and failed many times at sort of, you know, the YouTube or Instagram space, and man, it's so much respect for people that just grind that stuff out, especially in the early days when it really doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to get started sort of in your story. So tell me a little bit of who is Dylane Hurd. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Where did you come from? All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where to start. I was born here in Birmingham at St. Vincent's Hospital. I guess my birthday is in January 2002, so I'm
nice.
22, about to be 23 next year.
Yeah, I graduated high school the year before you were born, if that says anything. So
okay.
Yeah, but I also was born in Birmingham. I was at Princeton, not St. Vincent. So I was a Princeton baby.
I got you. Hey, we're still Birmingham natives, so that's
there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I went to Leeds Elementary School, and then later I went to it's a smaller school called Westminster out in the Oak Mountain area.
Yeah.
Graduated from there in high school, and then went on to go to Samford in 2020, so during COVID, and then recently just graduated with a degree in economics and data, which doesn't really relate at all to what I'm doing right now, but I couldn't be more thankful. So that's just a rough, I guess, timeline of me, but I love making videos. It's kind of a crazy story how it first started. and a random story. But and I
Well,
guess we'll get into that.
yeah, well, no, that's probably my next thing is like I want to know how did you get started in video? Like, what? Tell me your journey as a creative,
Yeah,
and feel
so
free to talk about any of these pictures that you seem to
well, I was about to say
respond.
that picture with the like the fake straw hat. Is that on my Instagram?
I think that was on Facebook.
On Facebook? Oh, okay. I was about to say I don't. It probably was on there at one point. I think after I started uploading reels, though, I just like only have videos on my or mainly
I
videos on my social media.
I tend to stalk people a little bit on social media in preparation for these. Especially, I look at like family members,
Yeah.
and so I've moms and dads. If I can find them, usually I can find a really young picture, and those are some of
Oh
the
yeah.
ones I really look for. Some of those early starts.
If you found my mom's page, then you have every photo of me ever taken. So,
I might have found your mom's and your
oh
dad's
yeah,
page, so
yeah, yeah. Then you know what I'm talking
and your
about.
brother's page too. I think also. So
Okay, the whole
yeah, yeah.
fam.
I'm telling you,
Uh,
it's a little, it's creepy. I'm sorry.
no, hey, it's part of it. I appreciate it. These are some good memories right here. So,
Good,
yeah.
good.
So I'm trying to think of the first time I started making videos. I was a huge YouTube kid. Like, grew up on YouTube. My favorite creator was Casey Neistat for the longest time. And whenever he started making his daily vlog in 2015, I think is when he started. I started after like episode 80 maybe, and then just watched almost every single day. And I think I bought a camera. My first camera was a Canon T5i, which like part of the Rebel series. I got
Yeah.
it off of Facebook Marketplace, and yeah, I remember my family took a trip to New York City for the first time, which I love wearing this visor. I was a big Yankees fan as a kid, and like I didn't get a haircut, so I throw this on whenever my hair is too long. Um, but yeah, we went to New York for like 3 days when I was 14, maybe 15, and I brought that camera with me, and I made like a Casey Neistat type of edit. Like it wasn't a vlog where I would talk to the camera. I kind of just took random videos of the city and then threw over a song to it and put it on YouTube, which it got taken down for copyright reasons. But I think that's the first time I made a video, and I think I took a lot of pictures with that on trips too, with the Canon before. But any chance
What?
I had when I was like in high school, I would just make random videos for like school projects. I went to a church here in Birmingham called the Church of Brook Hills, and I was on their production team. And um, so I would like help operate cameras during Sunday service, and then sometimes like the youth ministry would take trips, and I would bring my camera with me. But I've always like I love tinkering around with cameras and creating like random stories if I had a chance to. But that's like I guess the beginning of me using cameras or having a career in cameras. And then fast forward to I think 2020, I started going to Sanford, and I just like really stopped using my camera. I don't really know why. I just like think I was just focusing on school and knew I wanted to go into business in some degree, and so I ended up going in as a marketing and management major, but later swapped to economics and data because I just thought it was a cool major. And at the
Not
time,
too many people would have thought that was a cool major. So
yeah,
I'm
no,
just
I
saying.
didn't. I didn't even know what economics was whenever I first went to Stanford. I just thought it was like some fancy word people use to sound smart. But I had like an intro to macroeconomics, and I just kind of fell in love. Like it answered a lot of questions that I had about how things work, I guess. And yeah, the classes weren't the easiest and weren't my favorite, but I'm definitely grateful for having taken those courses. But yeah, I'm trying to think of why I picked up a camera again. I was pressure washing at the time to like pay for school, so I had like a small pressure washing company called Kazam Pressure Washing. I don't know if anybody in the Birmingham area has seen my signs around, but I would go to like every street corner and put like a purple and yellow sign that had my phone number on it all across the city. And that was like what was my main way of making money for the longest time. And I actually made some Instagram content for it. and I would use my old Canon camera and like record reels. And so I think that's like my first intro into reels because I wasn't posting anything on my main account, but I just posted all these pressure washing, like satisfying reels with some popular music overlaid to it. And then I guess fast forward to 2022 or 2023, the summer of 2023. No, yeah, summer of 2023. I was supposed to work a internship for my degree, and so I was supposed to work a data analytics internship. And I applied to like a few different companies in town, and I thought I landed a job at one of them. And I was communicating with the manager and said like, he said he was going to send me some onboarding papers and get me on payroll, and I was going to start in the next few weeks. And come April, end of April of 2023, I just never got anything back from him. And school was about to end, the summer was about to start, and I was supposed to start working. And so I reached back out, and a new manager responds to
Mm.
the email and says, "Hey, like, we actually decided to go with a different candidate. Like, thank you for applying and reaching out." So that was like a big turn of events because I just planned on working there full time during the summer. And I was actually working at a nonprofit in the Eastlake community at the time, and so I just decided to up my hours there because I was only going to work on weekends while I worked the internship, and I just decided to work full time or part to full time every week. And I because I didn't have that 30 40 hours a week dedicated to the internship, I decided to just try making my own videos because it's always a passion I had as a kid. Like I always wanted to be a YouTuber whenever I was like 15 after watching the Casey Neistat video, and like I really enjoyed making the reels for my my pressure washing business. And so I told myself I was going to try to make one reel every day for an entire summer. And I initially started on TikTok because I really wasn't. I feel like reels didn't have the same like social impact as they do now. Like I feel like reels is almost eclipsed TikTok. Like I never am on TikTok anymore. I'm only on Instagram. And I started making videos every single day on CapCut, just like almost like a daily vlog or whatever I was doing that day. I would film it and record it on my iPhone and then go back home that night and edit it, which was actually really hard to do. I thought it was going to be a breeze because it was on my phone and it would be a really quick thing, but I would stay up to like 1 a.m. editing videos and then posting it and go to bed and wake up the next day and do it again. But I guess that's really how my Instagram career or whatever, or like me posting on Instagram started, was that me missing out on that internship led to me filling my time making videos. And I would have never thought a year later I would be doing this full time. And yeah, that was a big ramble, but
Well, a couple of things I want to touch on. First of all, I agree completely on the idea that it's tough shooting and editing on an iPhone. I mean, a lot of it's intuitive in the sense of like touch and drag and stuff, but to fine tune things on a little tiny screen with just this really overly sensitive drag feature can be really difficult. It's a whole lot easier in something like Premiere Pro or DaVinci to really fine tune your edit. So props to you on that. Just sort of, I mean, you were grinding away at that time, and I did watch. I watched a lot of this kind of stuff even when it was happening. Some of your daily edits, specifically the stuff that sort of made the news. You know, you've got the idea that you were trying to go from what was it? What was it you started off with?
it was an old financial calculator.
Okay, calculator. That was it. A
Yeah.
calculator to a boat. That was the idea. And you ended up with a boat, right? I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, in not necessarily, I guess in the strictest meaning of the word, it's a boat.
Yeah. It
Right.
floats.
Yeah. Yeah. It floats. It wasn't a motorized boat, but it was a boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that I think I probably went back and watched these whenever I first saw you. Um, One of the videos, I guess probably the first video that I actually saw that really caught my attention was the Birmingham one. Shout out to Beham. Like this video was so well done, and I mean just beautiful. Not to mention It showcases our sort of the heart of this area, Birmingham, the actual downtown area. The colors in it were so vibrant. Do you remember like what camera were you using then for this?
Yeah, I have it with me right here. It's the Sony ZV-E1. This is like my favorite. If I like, I could write a whole thesis on why this camera is the best camera ever. I remember I was looking originally at an FX3, so I was
Yeah.
upgrading from my iPhone, and I had a Canon M50, I think, at the time too. So I guess I skipped this step, but I sold my T5i to get a Canon M50 probably like 5 years ago because it was mirrorless and smaller. And this is like when everyone was transitioning from regular DSLRs to mirrorless cameras. But I thought I saw this FX3 on Facebook Marketplace for $1,400. It turns out it was fake, but like I had saved up for for a few months and was ready to buy it, and it wasn't real. But that led me to get this instead, which has the exact same sensor as the FX3 and the A7S3 and all these like high level Sony cameras, and it's a fraction of the cost. It's only, I think it's $1,800, $1,900 new without the lens, which is still not cheap by any means. Like it, I'm definitely grateful that I was able to save up for it, but relative to I don't know how much the FX3 is. It's like 3 grand,
30,
four
yeah, I think it's
grand.
like $3,800. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you almost slash that price in half, and you get the I mean, it has a recording limit. It overheats if you're trying to record over an hour, but I just don't. I'm on Instagram. I just have like 5 second clips per shot. So I love the thing. It's small. It's light. If you put a cage on it, it has like all the mounting points a regular cinema camera does. So I could talk forever about that camera. But that was shot on. That was one of my first videos. I don't. It wasn't the first video that I shot on that camera, but it was one of like the first few. And then also, obviously, there's a drone in there. That's the Mini 3
Right.
Pro.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, this video really sort of caught my attention. Whenever I first noticed the content that you were putting out, and probably the second one would be this one. And I understand this one you had inspiration. You were looking at what is this? A cold Sunday.
yeah,
That the video or visuals of that one. But man, the way that you did the whole walking through the frames, I mean, it was just really well executed. This is still one of my favorites that I've seen from you, especially just featuring Birmingham.
yeah.
Just it's simple, it's clean, and again, sort of well executed.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was one of my favorites too. Like I had that idea in my head, but I just didn't think it was going to come out right. And thankfully, I mean, I feel like a lot of videographers can relate to this, but whenever you go into an edit and it turns out the same way, like on the timeline as it did in your head, it's one of the most satisfying feelings in the world. And that was one of them because I was just like, this is kind of because I even like keyed out some. Oh, I pointed right into the camera. I even keyed out some of the areas that like hung out of the frame, I guess, to like give it like a 3D pop.
Right.
And like I knew in my head I could mask it out, but I just didn't know if it would work. And thankfully it did. And yeah, I was really happy with that one.
Well, and that's something that I've seen recently with, like even later, the video that you did with the mayor. Um,
Yeah.
I know, like I saw, actually, I don't think this is the one. It was this one, I think. Was it this one? This is the one that I saw because this is the one where you were talking about the history of Birmingham,
Mhm.
and so this one you use that sort of cutout element a lot, where you let pieces of the image protrude beyond the frame of the image,
Yeah.
which is just a beautiful touch. I was even telling my coworker Cole Peavy, I was talking to him. I guess it was either today or last week, where I was telling him, man, like you do so great with those kind of imagery or that kind of imagery, specifically almost like this documentary type of feel. And we had just finished doing sort of a little bit of a docu series for work, and I was basically telling him, I was like, man, I wish I could have executed as well as Dylane did, because I really think you executed that really well through those parts.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's just I forgot where I originally got inspired to do that. I don't know if I saw someone else do the exact same thing, but I see a lot of movie trailers now do this where like most movies are letterbox, so they have like the the borders to make it a tighter aspect ratio. But I've seen some trailers where like the actor or like the subject's head will protrude past the frame, I guess, or like the
Right.
letterbox right there. And I just thought that was really cool. And honestly, it's super simple to do. I actually use Canva, the online graphic design software. You just remove the background and like duplicate the same photo on top of it, and put a little frame, and you sandwich it in between those two images, and it like takes a few, maybe like 1 minute in Canva. At least you can do it in Photoshop, but it's a lot easier for me at least to do it in Canva and just press a button.
Yeah.
So
Well, I will say I think you don't discredit yourself too much in this. I think anyone that knows Photoshop or Canva can do that very thing, but the timing, the placement, the whole composition that you sort of build out with this, I think, not to mention the actual narrative storytelling that you do throughout this piece, is really incredible and impressive. So, yes, I agree that those elements may not be that difficult to create, but I think how you use them is really powerful. So, props to you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. There was another one that I recently watched just sort of in preparation for this, and I love it because it gives some rationale to why you do some of the things that you do. At least for me, it was the first time because I've seen sort of the Spider-Man kind of whip transitions that you've done, but I never really did saw it as any more than that. But I love this explanation. If you don't mind, just sort of I know we've got it playing, but there's no audio going to be playing through
Yeah.
this. So if you don't mind, just sort of talk through. First of all, I'm wondering like you talk through what it is, like how Spider-Man inspires you, or how you've sort of taken that sort of persona further into your
Yeah.
content. But also, I wonder how true is this? Like, is that really the origin of why you create the way you do? Or was
Mhm.
it just more of like you were creating that way and you're like, how could I sort of explain this? Oh, I could say I'm the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I think like every kid that grew up in the early 2000s, or really any point in like the last few decades, is like Spider-Man was my number one superhero as a kid, and like that hasn't really changed much as I've gotten older. Like here, I think this is my keychain right here. I got this little Spider-Man Lego dude. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, I just think there's something kind of magnetic about the character of Spider-Man, and I don't know. I really love the medium of video, and I think this is like something I'm starting to realize more as I'm creating content. I don't know if I was super aware of it whenever I made this, but like you can do things that seem magical and like super that you can't really do as well in real life, and you can communicate ideas and make them look a lot more grand and heart not look and appear like you're deceiving somebody, but you can convey meaning in a much more creative way, or in ways that you just can't in real life, in face-to-face interactions. And so I don't know, I feel like a lot of YouTube creators that I've looked up to like almost embody like Spider-Man or superheroes whenever I see them on a screen. But I think it's also the reality that like a lot of content creators, while they may be well intended, like sometimes it becomes like a very self-serving platform where it's how can I grow my engagement? How can I do this and that? And like I'm definitely not saying I'm immune to those like types of I guess like incentives, or like yes, it's always nice getting more likes and more views, and I'm not gonna act like I'm immune to that. But I don't know. I kind of made this video to like be like setting up my values as a content creator, I guess. Like if
Yeah.
like there's like a business or a nonprofit that has like a mission and value statement, I kind of asked myself like what would my mission and values be, and at the time I was trying to figure out like am I a video creator? Am I like gonna go into economics? And I was like, oh well, you can kind of just do both. Like Spider Man, I think he was like a scientist in his free time, Peter Parker, but he also fought crime and did cool stuff. So you can do both, I guess. So yeah, I really don't. I'm trying to put myself in that headspace. It feels like so long ago, but it was less than a year ago. I think I was just trying to set up my mission and values. Like if I make videos, I want them to actually impact real people, that are in my community. Like I just don't want to make things for the sake of making them and getting more engagement. And so this is kind of me just telling myself this is like laying the foundation for what videos I have to come in the future. And hopefully I've remained true to those three rules. I don't think I use that much data in my videos, so maybe that should change. But
What about that backflip?
oh gosh, that I guess two of the rules are broken out of three. I think I tried to do a backflip at my parents. They have a trampoline at their house because I have three younger siblings too, or I have
Yeah.
four younger siblings, one biological brother who's 18, and I've tried to do a backflip a few times. I used to be able to do one pretty fine on a trampoline, but I've kind of forgotten over the years, and so yeah, maybe I need to revisit that.
That's pretty good. Well, I thought you hit the nail on the head. Like once I saw this, it was like that makes perfect sense to me, especially the idea of being the friendly neighborhood content creator. You know, it was. I mean, and specifically dealing with Birmingham. Whenever I first saw it, it seemed like maybe you weren't from Birmingham, but evidently you've born and raised, and so that makes even more sense. Like your respect for the city, your respect for the people of the city. It sounds like to me, even the growing up in the church, being involved in even like a private church school. Going to Samford, I'm assuming, probably played into this or just sort of continued it even further. It seems like what you're doing isn't just simply doing it, like you said, to make money, but almost like a mission to serve others and to help those around you. How much of, I mean, it sounds like even your parents are probably involved in Church at Brook Hills. Church at Brook Hills was really big, especially when David Platt was there, about like ministering in Birmingham. I mean, the whole was it Mark's Village? I think that
Mhm.
the place that you were working is sort of located. Like that whole place was built up around sort of ministry and missions. How much of that is playing into who the content creator and even that friendly neighborhood content creator, how much of that played into you becoming that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I want to make sure might need time to think about my answer because there's a lot there. Yeah, I would say a lot. I think one of the biggest things that, and I guess this is more reflected in kind of the City of Neighborly Love video, is that I guess growing up in Birmingham, I feel like I've kind of grown up in two different sides of Birmingham where, I mean, we call it over the mountain, where a lot of people like live in the suburbs. A lot of white people live in the suburbs, and then the city, it's kind of just a segregated line historically. And I've kind of lived on both sides of the mountain. I really grew up mainly. I lived in Leeds for a little bit, which I guess is like on the. I don't really know geographically where that would fall by the mountain, but
Wait, which
yeah,
part?
in Leeds, Alabama.
Leeds. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in. I went to a private Christian school, and I'm not saying my family. Thankfully, my family made a lot of sacrifices for me to go there, but like by no means were we in a poor financial situation, and so I've had lots of privileges throughout my life to be able to go to a school like that and go to a school like Sanford as well. But I guess just like working in the Gate City area or Marks Village, which is a government housing community in on the east side of Birmingham. I think just seeing that the reality of I guess our neighbors in Birmingham aren't all exactly the same, and so I don't know. I think it was a big like culture shock, but also like realization that okay, suburb Birmingham it doesn't really reflect the same reality as the city of Birmingham, and I just think I had to like recognize that I grew up in like I had a lot of opportunities that I was given that people that look like me might not be as they just might not be as readily available, and so and I guess context too. So I'm biracial. My dad's black. My mom's white. My dad's from the projects of right outside of Nashville. My mom's from Slidell, Louisiana, and they met at work and then moved to Birmingham, and that's how our Birmingham story started, I guess. But I've always lived here, And yeah, I guess living in those two worlds, I've always kind of had that tension in my head of like, okay, like I have friends and loved ones in both of these communities, and it's like it feels like there's a stark line and a stark difference between those. And I'm not saying that I or anyone has like solutions to bridge that gap, but I think just talking about those differences and yeah, recognizing those differences can like lead to connection maybe in the future. And um, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, I feel like, but I think it just mainly stemmed from that desire to bridge both worlds in a way. Like it was hard kind of living in the two different dynamics of our city. And so, yeah.
Well, I'll say this just to sort of piggyback on that, and also to share a little bit of my experience. I obviously do not understand, by experience at least, the sort of life of the African American community in the Birmingham area or any area for that matter. Especially dealing with prejudice and racism that has existed and probably and still definitely perpetuates in some way, in many different ways throughout the South and probably even beyond. But I did work for a period of time as a teacher in the alternative school in Jefferson County, one of the alternative schools, and in that situation, the sort of population of that school, for various reasons, which neither one of us have time, and I probably don't have the full intellect to delve into fully. But for various reasons, the majority of the population of that school at that time was African American male, and so during that time, as a teacher, and probably not really the representation that they needed to see in the classroom, but I really cared about my students and wanted to see them do better for themselves in the classroom and beyond, than end up back in my classroom. And so I was trying to research and understand. A lot of them grew up in inner city areas such as Birmingham, and even some that grew up in other areas and had transplanted to the Birmingham area. It was very eye opening in doing some of the research to just understand like what all has gone on, and what continues to go on to sort of perpetuate the problems that exist in poverty in general, but especially whenever you mix poverty with sort of racial disparities. And so it was really eye opening for me at the time, and I think around that same time was when the church at Brook Hills, because I think my wife and I actually went there for a period of time during that time, and it was amazing to me, sort of the mentality that was sort of taught there, that really was trying to minister to various communities of all types, but then also trying to sort of, I guess, try to bridge communities, or even understand that, I think a lot of people have tried for many years to sort of stay out of the Birmingham area, and it seemed like the church at Brook Hills was trying to say, hey, no, let's go into the Birmingham area and show love and compassion and mercy to those areas, just as we would, to the Oak Mountain area or other areas outside of Birmingham. So it was, during that time, for me at least, it was really eye opening, and I'm sure there's so much more that I need to have my eyes opened up to, but it's interesting that your family seems to have connected with that and has done a lot. It seems like, I think your dad even works in that same area, or at least has to some degree the business that you were working at for a period of time. Like I said, I dig deep a little bit too deep.
I'm like very
time,
impressed. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm having to double check myself to remember the timeline, right? But yeah, no, I'm definitely grateful for my parents and just their hearts for the city and their love for the community. And yeah, definitely just wasn't naturally generated for myself. Like I, have them as examples and greatly look up to them. So yeah, very, very thankful for my parents. And
Well, and it seems like your content. I love the fact that there is that almost mission type effort paired with your content. And with that being said, I did want to hear about Share the Mic. So this is something that, again, I followed you for a little while. I mean, really ever since the Birmingham content really started. But then I hadn't seen a lot from you, for various reasons, evidently, recently. And so I started getting into the research and seeing, okay, well, what have you been tagged in recently? And then I saw the Share the Mic. Tell me a little bit of what Share the Mic is, and then also talk about, like, how does this coincide, because it seems to potentially coincide really well with the other stuff we were just talking about with your friendly neighborhood content creator. And I understand this is a freelance client.
Yeah, they hire me out to help make social media videos. Share the Mic's awesome. It's ran by Libby Lassiter, who works at a commercial real estate firm here in the city. But they reached out to me in, it's hard to remember. I think it was in April. A lot of things picked up in April, thankfully, just like with the City of Neighborly Love video and then the video with Mayor Woodfin. They reached out to me in April and asked if I could help make social media videos with them, and as a freelance role rather than a creative role where I've been contracted out to help them with. So I'm just behind the camera, really. But they help with getting young voters, especially millennial and Gen Z, to be passionate about voting and go to the polls. And that's through different, events. They held an event, I can't remember where, it was downtown, where they invited just young people in the community to come and meet different politicians and kind of like break that barrier or the red tape that often is around politicians, and make it more accessible for younger generations. And so, thankfully, they reached out to me and we've been making some work together.
So this one here specifically, I love this video mainly because we get to see you in it. I don't know how accidental that was, but you show up. You show up at one point in this video, sort of off in the side. I think it was I feel like it was early on in it, so I'm not sure if we'll see it here, but it was like as Mayor Woodfin was sort of moving around, I think it captured a little bit of you in one of the angles. So it was pretty funny. I meant to actually screenshot that and have it ready to share, and I didn't. So, but yeah, it's always tough whenever there it is. There it is. There you are.
With my ZVE1.
There you go. Hey, I can tell the difference in that shot than some of the others. No offense to the other camera operator, but I do love the Sony look. I personally own the FX3 as well as I'm currently using the A7C. So Sony's got some great ones, man.
I think the other camera was actually an FX3, but I don't know if it was shot in S-Log. I think it was like shot in different picture profiles.
So it really is the camera operator then.
Yeah, I was just there to shoot a reel that day, and I got all the clips that I needed, and the guy that was shooting is actually Ronnie Gatry, who makes amazing work, podcast work, and also longer form video work. But he just asked if I would be able to second shoot while we were there, and so I loaded up my camera, put an SD card in, and we got two angles of the same scene, and I really like the way it turned out. He's super talented, and if you haven't seen his work, y'all should go check it out. But
definitely. Yeah. Well, how many times did your camera overheat during this?
It actually didn't, surprisingly. I think this is only like a 10-minute clip, though, from my camera personally, and so if it was any bit longer, it could have gotten dangerous there.
I got you. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about. I know we've already been talking about your work a good bit, but I want to hear a little bit more of, just some of the ideology, but not ideology. Sorry, that's a little bit different. What I guess sort of your vision behind a lot of your videos, because I want to know, like, how creative do you feel, or how much of this is just natural to you, or are you having to like sit back and really think like, okay, I got to put out this kind of persona? Because I do think so much of yours feels so natural. I mean, I'm thinking of like videos like this. where it seems like it's just you being yourself any given day. Like if I
Mhm.
would have just been talking to you while you're riding your bike, you would have felt the same way. But because it's
Yeah.
video, sometimes it can feel like an act. So that's what I guess
Yeah,
I'm trying to ask is how much of this is really you, or how much of this is your creativity sort of playing itself out?
for sure. That is a great question. I don't know if I've thought about that myself. I think it'd be easy to say like, yeah, a lot of it's me, but I am not. I mean, I bet a lot of people, if anyone's watching this and has seen my videos, are probably like, he is a lot different on camera than he is, or like on in a conversation than he is on camera. Um, but I think one of the biggest things I do is I spend a lot of time in like pre-production for my own videos. Now, the videos that are playing right now, um, I did 3 free reels for different businesses in the Birmingham area. Those
Which
didn't
were
have much.
really great. Those were really great videos.
I appreciate that. They were super fun to make, and thankfully, like the character of each different business or organization. I guess Birmingham Film Walk is more of a community, but it kind of just shone through on the day of the shoot. And so, even though I didn't really do much pre-production, it was really easy to get unique shots while I was there because they just had so much personality. But for my videos, at least, I spend a lot of time writing the script out, and also like sometimes I shot list things, but I will completely write out the script on my iPad or a note taking app, and then I'll like write down a shot that corresponds for each sentence. Or I try to write everything like sentence by sentence, so it's really easy to say on camera rather than memorizing the whole thing and trying to say it at once. And whenever I found that whenever I have a script or whenever I have some rough outline, it allows me to be a lot more natural on camera because I'm not thinking in the back of my head like, what do I have to say? Like, am I explaining the story all the way through? Like, am I being clear with my verbiage? Um, which is like kind of ironic because I like appearing as if I'm very natural on camera, which it doesn't happen if I don't have a script, which is really ironic.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. I feel like a lot of times people would be sort of opposite of that. That the script, you're so focused on saying the exact word that you wrote down that
yeah,
it's hard to deliver that naturally.
yeah. Now a lot of the times, like I will go off the script, or rarely do I say the script that I wrote out word for word. But if I just have the general idea, it gives me, I don't know, it just kind of eases me whenever I'm on camera because I don't have to worry about am I getting the right shot, am I getting the right line down. Like I know exactly what type of thing I want to say in my head, and so it just frees me up to just naturally talk about it on camera because I don't have that anxiety of is this the right script? Am I gonna get all the shots done today? So
Did you do that same thing when you were doing these like daily videos? When you were, does that
mm,
make like were you the same way then, or were you a little bit more like fly by the seat of your pants then?
I mean that one's more fly by the seat of my pants. It kind of just had to be because it was daily and I just didn't know what I was gonna do on any given day. But I could be wrong. I think I voiced over, like, did a voiceover for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, I would have clips that were in real time, and then like the intro of that video, I think was like, "I'm going to show you guys, or I'm going to take you guys with me to work today." And then I asked the boys like, "What are we going to do today?" And they said laser tag. And right here, I'm having a voiceover as well. And so it's kind of a mix of both. Where I mean, if you get the raw clips and you get some sound bites during the day, you can kind of cohesively put it all together and make a story after the day is over, and then I could just fill in the gaps with the voiceover. And so that's a
Do
little bit
you
of both, I would say.
do you voice with some of these, especially some of the intros? Do you voice
Mhm.
over and then what's the phrase? It's like you voice over and then lip sync it later almost.
Oh yeah, I don't do that. I don't think I've done that for any of my
Okay, I
videos.
felt like that may have been done at some
Oh
point. There was
yes,
one video where I
no, it
thought I
was this
noticed it.
video.
Was it this one?
Yeah, it was. It's a little bit further in the video. Whenever I'm riding my bike and talking to the camera, I was mic'd up and I was talking to the camera, but the wind was so bad and I couldn't save the audio in Premiere, and so I ended up just like I had this mic with me right here, and I would like preview the clip on my screen and then say the exact words. That might have been loud, but
Yeah.
say
Just
the
try to
exact
get the
words.
pacing right.
Yeah, and just try to like lip sync what I said perfectly. And so And then I also think I did it with the Gatos and Beans video. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the one. I think that's the most noticeable one. It's the intro. I was really far away from the camera and you could barely hear what I was saying. And so the first few seconds are this is a voiceover.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
after this, that's the raw audio from the camera right there. But I had to do that later on. Like I said exactly what I said on screen, but
Right.
later on I had to save the audio in post.
Hey, they do that in movies all the time, so why can't we do it in
Yeah,
social clips, right?
we can give ourselves some grace.
Tell me about this video specifically, because I understand like you were sort of, I guess, approached somehow by the mayor. You had senators involved in this. You had Pete, what's his name? Pete Buttigieg. How do you say his last
Be the
name?
judge.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I had to
like
memorize. I had to get it down before the shoot because I knew who he was. I just didn't know how to say his name, and so
right,
um,
like this Terry Sewell. I mean, this was big,
yeah.
but tell me a little bit of like how this came about, and also sort of like as far as the execution of it. Did you run into any trouble with this one?
Oh, this was a crazy story. Like every time somebody asks me about this, it just feels like a fever dream looking back on everything because it was such a quick turnaround from the request to the actual shoot, and then I think I edited this in 2 days, maybe. And yeah, I don't really remember
Still
honestly.
using CapCut?
No, no, this was in Premiere Pro. No, that would be something. Yeah. Uh, Geez, I'm trying to think. Oh, so I was in school at the time. This was in the beginning of April, I think,
Yeah,
or mid-April. So
April 10th,
classes were
according to the
April 10th.
delivery
Yeah, so
date, at least.
yeah, classes were starting to wind down, and I actually got a DM from a girl named Brenna Parker, and I just didn't know who it was. Her account just looked like a normal Instagram account, and I clicked on it, and she said, "Hey, like I'm with the U.S. Department of Transportation. Can I email you about a quick video idea?" I just thought it was fake because
Right. I
whenever
would have
that,
thought that was fake.
yeah, and whenever the Birmingham, what was it called? The first Spider-Man video with like the cinematic Birmingham shots. I don't know what the name of the video was. It's like views from the
Uh,
best city in the world, Birmingham, Alabama.
are you talking about this one?
Yes, that one.
Yeah,
So
shout out Birmingham is what I see it called. At least that's what you did the
I was just the
caption
caption.
as. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I made that video, I just didn't expect it to get as much traction as it did, but I just got a lot of like DMs from it, and I'm just not used to getting that many messages on Instagram. And I got all the like spam and just kind of like random requests. And ever since then, my like Instagram DM inbox has been kind of hard to manage because now it puts things in request folders and sometimes it hides things. I
Right.
honestly just don't know how it works. So if somebody's better at managing that than me, I would love to hear advice. But
Yeah, that thing's got 515,000 views on Instagram
yeah,
alone.
it was incredible. And it was crazy because the first 3 days of me posting it, I think it got like 6,000 views, which isn't nothing, but it just like didn't take off until maybe 3 or 4 days after me posting it, which is kind of wild to think about.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
All
So
right.
anyway,
Yeah, back to
Brennan
this one.
Parker. Yeah, that was a big tangent. She DMs me. We start emailing, and she has like the U.S. Department of Transportation seal at the end of the emails, and ends up calling me too. And she's like, "Hey, Dylane, love your videos. Been watching you for a while now." Which I was like, "A while now?" Well, I mean,
Probably not, but it was nice to
yeah.
say, right?
Well, she found me through that the video that we were just referencing.
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, I saw it on my explore page, and I've been following you ever since." And which is kind of just surreal. And she's like, "Yeah, I love your content. We're actually going to be here in Birmingham in 2 days." So this was Monday, April 8th, and or not April 8th, whatever day it was. And they were coming to announce this grant 2 days after she called me. And she's like, "Yeah, I love your videos. Like, we would love for you to do a video with Secretary Buttigieg and the mayor. What do you think?" And I was like, I don't know what to think. This sounds like an incredible opportunity. What would you guys like me to make? And she was like, whatever you want. Like, just
Oh gosh. Yeah.
give me your best idea. And I was just so taken aback and um, like it was surreal, but I just didn't know what to say, and so I asked if I could give her a call back in an hour, and I kind of drafted up a few interview questions and called back, and she gave me the green light and contacted the mayor's office, and so I immediately called up my one of my good friends, Chris Todd. I think I tagged him in this video, but he is a recent Sanford grad and works at Cedar Creative. Um, and he's a super talented. I think I maybe it was like the first comment I think, or one of my
Oh, there
comments.
we go. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
And
You're
so
like
I
the
asked, I'm
fourth
like,
comment, but yeah,
yeah, oh, I didn't pin my own comment. That's awkward. Yeah,
yeah,
Chris, y'all should
exactly.
check out his work.
Definitely, I'm gonna follow him right now, man. That's awesome.
Sweet. And then I also asked, so Brian Johnson, he's a photographer here in Birmingham, and I actually interned for him. I was interning for him at that time, working at his studio, and that's where I am now. I rent space at his studio, and this is a big upgrade from my garage where I used to make videos and where I kind of stay all day now. But he was down to help too, and so he actually photographed the event while we were there. And so if you saw any of those like pictures that I used at the end,
Yeah.
those are all photos that he took. So definitely give
That
him a
you said
follow
that's
too.
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, his photography stuff looks great.
yeah.
I was looking at something else that you got tagged in. I think it was you were doing some behind the scenes of some of his photography, and like some of his photo shoots where people were like
Mm.
jumping. I guess it was a band, maybe
Oh, I'm trying to think. Oh, was it
Gladys
Gladys
Improv.
Improv?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gladys Improv. That's it.
that's an improv group here in Birmingham, and they came and had their portraits done, and like had a shoot too at Tasty Town where we like kind of set up a scene,
Yeah.
and Brian was there shooting, and I was just there making a behind the scenes reel. But yeah, his work is insane. It definitely makes me want to like pick up a. I actually bought a film camera recently because of just because I was inspired and I want to kind of get more into photography as well.
Yeah. No, no, that photo shoot alone looks incredible. I started looking at his stuff right after I saw, just through researching you, I noticed this sort of behind the scenes video you did, and his stuff looks clean, super clean.
Oh yeah,
I love this. This looks like a fun photo shoot to be a part of anyway. So,
oh yeah.
uh,
Anytime you get
all right. So
comedians on a set,
oh yeah, I can only imagine. All right, so the two of them were there. You were on site with a lot of government
yeah,
entities, so to speak. And what was that like, especially like having to perform in the moment? Did you have any kind of edit in mind, or was it all just sort of like, all right, these are the questions, let's get what we can get?
hmm
Because I imagine you only had a limited amount of time.
yeah. I actually the first idea that I pitched to Brenna was I asked if I could get Secretary Buttigieg and Mayor Woodfin on a bicycle, and I have my bicycle too, and we just pedal down the street and. I interview them while we're on our bikes. Obviously, that didn't happen, and that would just be a lot to
That would
uh,
have been a great video.
point out. Yeah, and like I just really wanted to be approachable. I just feel like whenever you see a lot of these videos with politicians, they become very I don't know if sterile is the right word, but it just like it's hard to feel like you have skin in the game, or it's hard to feel like you can be a part of that conversation. And I felt that way personally, and so I just kind of thought to myself like, how can I make this as fun or as approachable if I were like 15-year-old me? Would 15-year-old me be invested in this video? That's kind of a question I ask myself a lot whenever I make stuff. But the day was honestly pretty. I mean, everything was structured, scheduled out, but I was just stressed because I've never really even been on like a traditional like film set, but like at a big political event like this, there are just so many moving parts. There's like 2 minute windows for, oh, here's the like there was the press was there. There was like a whole press conference after I recorded this video. Um, Mayor Woodfin and Secretary Buttigieg and Terry Sewell were walking across Fourth Avenue and um, meeting all the business owners at like Green Acres, or there's a at the barbershop that was there as well, and yeah, just meeting business owners in that community. And then there were photo opportunities, and then they also had um, a spot where they had a speech for like introducing the grant, and each politician spoke for a few minutes. And while they were finishing up their like the keynote speech or the address, I was like maybe 100 yards away with me, Brian, and Chris, like getting ready for the interview because we like set up a location the night before, told Brenna that we are going to be there at a certain time. We had a 5 minute window to like for me to ask my questions, to record everything, and they were going to move on to the press conference. So like, imagine here's the speech, here's me, and then here's like the press, and they're just like on a line, like stopping here for a second, and then they're going to the press conference. And so
So
I like,
this little moment right now that we're seeing, like
yeah,
this is where you just had them for a couple of minutes before they were going to be sort of like attacked or mobbed
yeah.
by the
I mean,
press.
behind the camera, I mean, I don't want to exaggerate because I was caught up in the moment, but I think there were like over 50, like 30 to 50 people like behind us. So it was pretty intimidating. I won't lie, and my heart was racing out of my chest. But I remember I was like talking to Brian before we shot, and he was like, "Ask me if I'm good," and I'm like, "I I think if I can just ask them questions and talk to them like face to face and have a conversation, like all my nerves will go away." And so I'm just not going to put any questions down. Like I'm just going to talk to them. And then as like we set up at our location and it was about time for them to walk over, I started freaking out and I was like, I need questions now. Like I need something just to fall back on. So I start writing questions down on my phone and I got like one question in and I look up and there they are like walking right towards me, maybe 20 feet away. And so I put my phone in my pocket and I don't even know what happened. I kind of just like not blacked out, but just
Right.
locked in. I don't know what you say. And I was like,
I
"Hey
would
guys."
definitely say locked in, man. I mean, I've you feel so comfortable there, so it's really amazing to hear that you were extremely anxious and nervous because
Oh
I think you
yeah,
deliver it so well. It does not. You covered it up really well.
yeah. And thankfully, editing helps a little bit too. I think in between questions, I paused for a little bit and tried to recollect my thoughts. But um, I'm just really glad it turned out well because in my head, my thoughts were just blasting. I couldn't even like think about the questions that I was asking, and it was hard to respond to their answers just because I wasn't thinking about what they were saying. I was just thinking about how nervous I was. But I'm just
One,
very grateful. Oh, yeah.
I was going to say one of the keys to editing. It's not about what people see; it's about what they don't see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that they didn't see from that day, but yeah, it thankfully we pulled it off and it felt like honestly like a heist because right after that they were gone to the press conference and it just felt like we were in and out and I later shot all that B-roll in the initial scene I think a day later. Like I went back out to 4th Avenue the next day and then shot that intro on the bike and did like a match cut to me and like the new outfit to the day of just to like have a transition, I guess. But yeah, it was a really fun day. I'm still blown away that it even happened at all, and glad we could pull it off. Shout out to Chris and Brian. Definitely could not have done this without them. I'd be setting up a tripod and fiddling with it, and probably forget all my questions. So
Well, and I think those photos that Brian captured uh, really helped communicate just sort of the overall visual and
yeah,
experience. You know what I mean? Like you really get an idea, and it felt like it was just y'all. You don't feel this
hmm
press like massive group of people that are there. It really felt sort of personal. So
yeah,
props to you and the team. I think all of y'all did a really great job with that.
yeah.
I do have to ask, like these graphics that I see pop up, the sort of
hmm
scribble effect. Is that
yeah.
stuff that you're creating yourself, or is that stuff you're bringing in? I really love the Alabama morphing to the United States. Is that something that
Yeah.
you created, or is that something that you found?
No, that 100% is Chris Todd right there. He like I have Procreate on my iPad, which is like a animation
Right.
software, and I can write words on it and make them wiggle. That's about the extent of what I can do. He's taught me some more, but no, he the day after the that shoot, we came back here at a Brian studio, and he just like cranked away. He probably spent close to an hour on each animation. Like you have to draw everything frame by frame. Some of those animations end up being like over 100 frames, and he like hand drew the United States
Right.
30 times, and then like drew its different forms, and then hand drew Alabama like 50 times, and Yeah, those were all his doing, and they just elevated the video so much, and I'm super grateful for him just taking his time to do that because I just love the way it looks. Like I'm a sucker for kind of like the scrappy, almost like Diary of a Wimpy Kid look
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
things, and that is exactly what it looked like. And like right there, those little arrows popping up. I can maybe draw those lines wiggling, but that's about it. And yeah, so those were all his animations, and
Well,
it
I
warms a
look
lot to
forward to
the
seeing this team sort of come together on future projects because I think y'all killed it on this one. So I'm assuming maybe there's some other ones that either have been done that I maybe just don't know it's that team,
yeah.
or hopefully y'all have got some stuff in the pipeline coming down soon.
There's some stuff cooking, that's for sure.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so tell me a little bit of some advice that you would have for other people. Maybe. What advice would you tell yourself or somebody
Yeah,
like you when you were a kid, or somebody that just has aspirations to do some of what you've been able to do?
yeah. I think the biggest one, and this is advice that I've heard from a lot of creatives, but I think is just I found to be super true in my own life. Is just show your work and share what you're passionate about. I don't really have a traditional trajectory into like the video creation space, and I just never thought like if you told myself a year, maybe a year and a half ago that I would be freelancing full time and making Instagram content. Like that just looks wildly different than what I was doing. It's not what I studied at all. But that all just happened through me picking up my phone and making like, half decent CapCut phone videos. And it's led to some crazy opportunities that I could have never have planned for. And that just is simply from me putting my work out there. And so I don't know, I'm definitely like I would say naturally a perfectionist where I just like want a video or a project to be perfect and then I can put it out. But like sometimes just put it out and like you just need to put it out and then it'll evolve into something completely different and something way better than what you could have imagined in the first place. And I found that to be true with so many of my videos. And I'm honestly trying to tell myself that right now as like I'm sitting on a few projects that I want to be perfect and the reality is they'll never be, but they'll be perfect to somebody, and somebody will be very inspired by it, even if you don't think they will be. And um, I've just been impacted by so many other people's work because they've shared it, and it's led to me making my own stuff. And so, the same could go for someone else out there who is looking to get involved in video creation or just some creative art or act.
Yeah, I just released this week the podcast with Chris Shannara, and he's a graphic designer hello, oh goodness, I'm gonna mess up the name. Crap, I've got too many in my head. Chris Shannara with all right, I can't not identify them. That's gonna be bad. It's bad enough that I'm having a hard enough time thinking of them right now. I've got them tagged in his videos. Let me pull this up.
You got your
Telegraph.
receipts?
Gosh, I couldn't think of that at
Oh
all.
yeah.
Yeah, Telegraph. So he's a graphic designer with Telegraph, and he also does freelance. But he was literally in one of the little promo pieces I put out about it. He talks about the importance of sharing your work, and he was told by somebody, a mentor of his, "Hey, just put it out there, regardless of how confident you are about it. Put it
Yeah.
out there." And he talked about how so many, pretty much every opportunity he's ever gotten, from even his full-time job to freelance opportunities, has been through sharing his work. And after sharing that video, I had somebody comment on it saying basically that Chris had basically told them to do the same thing, and how scared they were to do that, how difficult that is at times. And I agree. I mean, I think when you don't feel confident about your work, when you're just starting out, or when you feel like there's still so much growth needed, it's really hard to share that work and put it out there. But I don't know, in my experience at least, and I think probably in yours as well, most of the time it's received really well, especially by the people
Yeah.
that you want to hear from. I mean, there's always people that'll say negative things if especially once you start really getting some traction and growth in your content. I think
Mhm.
there's always people out there that just want to breed negativity. But the people that have created stuff before, that have grinded and shared their own stories, or their own creative process, like those people typically respect the work and respect the grind. So I definitely I think there's usually nothing but growth that can come from sharing your work.
Yeah.
But you do have to make sure you stay focused on whose opinions and thoughts you really need to listen to versus those you need to ignore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But man, I'm glad you shared your stuff because I think it looks great. And I think the storytelling that you do, that's probably to me sort of the more impressive part than just the visuals. Even though your visuals usually look incredible as well, I think the way that you tell a story, maybe it's that writing you do beforehand, or maybe it's just your own banter. Normally, it's really impressive and enjoyable. So props.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So what's next? Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, I do have to point out the graduation photo right here. At some point during that video, you like go through this like quick, fast cutting with all these looks like AI stuff you've done.
Yeah.
And I just happened, I got my finger just over the screen capture button, and I start just clicking away as it was going through, and I caught the goggles. I thought that was really
Yeah.
a
The
great
goggles are
touch.
one of my favorite ones on there. So
Yeah, you
you
need to
got
share
that.
all those out, man. I mean, just like, do like a whole page collection of all the AI images that you probably generated with it.
It's like an Instagram carousel post. You can just
Yeah,
swipe through all of them.
that would be great. I would love it. I thought it was a great use of just that feature as well as just a great video. But all right, sorry, enough of that. Back to what's next for you. Like, what do you have on the horizon? I mean, obviously you're doing
Yeah.
freelance work. You said that's sort of keeping you busy. What's next in that arena or in your personal stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. With just the whole role of freelance, I feel like any freelancer can relate to this, but what's next is a loaded question because sometimes I just don't know. It could be something change, like I get a job next week, or
Right.
it's just kind of the nature of freelance is very volatile. But I do have some exciting projects coming up, and um, there may be a project that's coming up this month. I really don't know. I might check an email after this call to see if it's confirmed. But some excited opportunities coming up that I'll definitely share on my story. Probably won't. Oh, I might post. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I
I'll
think
look
I'm kind of
forward to something maybe or not.
yeah,
Possibly.
exactly.
There's a
Yeah,
chance.
yeah. You like that super clear answer I gave you?
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll just say there's some exciting freelance clients that are potentially coming up in the near future. But as for my own work, I actually am working on a YouTube video right now. It's my first long form video I've ever embarked on. Um, and I'm really, really excited about it. I've edited like the first act of the video. It's probably going to be close to like 20 minutes long, give or take. I'm
Nice.
not sure yet. Uh, but the more and more I shoot and start editing it, the more excited I'm getting. And so I think that's most likely going to be the next project for me. I'm hoping to get it out in the next month, but I can't make any promises yet. So expect a YouTube video on the horizon.
That's
Um,
really exciting to see. I want to see that transition from that short form. Like I've already said, I'm a big fan of like your short form delivery, storytelling, visuals, all of it. So I'm really curious to see how that translates to long form, especially 20 minutes. That's a long time.
yeah, no, it
But
is.
what's cool about that is that gives you so much more room to
Mhm.
do your thing and tell your stories. But at the same time, that gives a lot of room for maybe misses, so to speak, as well. But
Yeah.
I imagine just based on what I've seen from you, I don't think there will be too many misses, if any.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see too because, yeah, it's becoming a much larger project than I intended. Like normally I can shoot and edit a reel pretty quick, but this is just for one sequence I've already edited, or like just for like 3 minutes of the video I've already edited way more than I ever have for one reel. So um, yeah, I'm really really excited about this project though. I'm like I want to make sure that I'm holding to getting it out on time and not being a perfectionist with it, but um, yeah, I'll definitely be sharing like things optimized for Instagram that are maybe clips or um, just scenes from the video itself. But the entire project will be on YouTube.
I would love to see like almost like documentary type stuff from you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's sort of
Yeah,
what that felt like, even with the part of the Birmingham video where you shared
yeah.
so much of its history. I think that would be. I mean, I just feel like that, at least for me, really resonated the way that you told
Mhm.
that story, and just the idea of seeing you do more documentary type stories would be really cool. I don't know if that's anything that you have in your in maybe in this even 20-minute video,
Yeah.
but that would be cool to see.
No, I definitely would be interested. I wouldn't say this video. This video is more like on the era of storytelling. I would say like mix a coming of age film with sci-fi. It's a really random combo, but that's
Okay.
probably the best
Is
clip
there
in that
like a
movie.
Terminator type robot that enters the frame at any point?
I will say the one movie that I would say their Matrix may be referenced in it.
Okay.
That's
Okay. Yeah.
that's
A little
yeah.
bit
I
less
haven't
less
shot that part
Spider-Man,
yet.
more Neo kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, there will be Spider Man in it too, so don't worry about that.
Always.
But yeah, I actually work with a guy named Grant Watson who owns 99 Natives. It's a video
Yeah.
production
Yeah.
company here, but he rents space in the studio as well, and I assist him sometimes. And it's honestly what gotten me wanting to do some more interview or documentary style films because he makes really cool work. And
Yeah,
yeah,
99 Natives is, man, they're killing it. Their stuff is so good.
yeah,
They've been, and then they've got like Array 30A or something like that. They've got like a where they do real estate kind of videos as
yeah.
well. Yeah,
Mhm.
their stuff's really good.
Yeah, it's really cool to learn from just both Brian and Grant. Kind of see two different mediums and style of art or visual art. It's definitely helped me and taught me a lot just here in these past few months. And so, yeah, collaboration is key in the creative industry. I'm coming to learn that. And yeah, that's really it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about who inspires you. This is something I always ask people. I told you I found some of your mom's posts, but uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I always ask people like who inspires them in the sense, and some of this you've already touched on because I do ask
Mhm.
about local people that you feel like have sort of pushed you forward in your own creative journey, who
Yeah.
like make you want to do better or have just inspired you to do better. But
Yeah.
also, I'm curious as to like who do you look at for references? Who do you look at for inspiration, like even in the moment, or even like who you? I mean, obviously Spider-Man, right? But
Yeah.
like who? What do you look at that really inspires your style or your look or
Yeah.
anything like that?
I watch so much YouTube. Like it's, I wouldn't say it's unhealthy because I just love it. Maybe some people think it's unhealthy, but like I probably put up a good 30, 40 hours a week on YouTube. That is not an exaggeration.
Yeah,
But I
that's just. I
have,
mean, that's just another job. That's all.
yeah, for sure. I actually have sticky notes on my desk of like creators that I'm always trying to mimic, and most of them are on YouTube. Let's see. Okay, so here's a. Should I just read out the whole list? How many creators do you want?
Go for it, man. I want to hear it.
Okay, so I think one of my favorite YouTubers and creators at all, like period, hands down right now, is a guy named Colt Kerwin. It's ColtKirwan.
Wait, Colt Cur. Okay, yeah, yeah.
He's based out of New York, but he makes I don't he just is so good at
Is
world
this
building.
him?
That's him. Yeah, if I had one video I could recommend, it's the video called "I Actually Chased My Dreams and This Is What Happened." I think it's at the far right.
Yeah.
That video changed my life whenever I saw it. Like I've never seen a YouTube video shot in this way. It I guess I'll spoil some of the video for anyone that might watch it, but he like has Oscar the Grouch in the video, and who else does he have in there? Just like some random characters that like shouldn't be in a YouTube video, but like they honestly the way he's able to capture those characters and like script those characters, it feels like they're real and in his world as well. And he just has some of the most creative shot selection I've seen from a YouTuber, and so I think he's my favorite creator right now. I actually got to meet him at a B&H event out in New York. It was free, and I got a really cheap flight to New York last year and went to this conference. And I actually happened to sit right beside him, and we talked for a little bit. I was kind of fanning a little bit, but it was really cool getting to meet him in person, and he makes some incredible work.
Nice. Well, I will definitely be checking his stuff out. Uh, I mean, so far I've seen stuff that looks cool. I'm sure audibly it helps if I was listening to it
Oh
as well.
yeah, no, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So who else? Who else you got?
There's a guy named Valandes. I don't. A lot
Oh
of
yes,
films.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
local, isn't he?
No, he's based out of
Oh,
Detroit.
okay.
I'm pretty sure. It's
Um,
VUHLN
yes.
or LA, but
VUH. Yes, there it is. Yeah.
VUH. Yeah.
I've followed this guy for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah. No, his stuff. He's good. He's
Yeah. His cinematography, and he's an amazing film photographer, and I think that just translates to the way that he thinks about lighting and videos.
that's a great shot. The
Yeah.
colors of his videos are always incredible.
Yeah, it's I just love the look of all of his videos, and he's a really cool personality and extremely talented with a video camera as well as a film cameras. So
Yeah, I haven't seen his stuff in a while, and I'm not really sure why. I'm
well
currently not
he
logged into my normal YouTube channel, so that's
yeah well he unfortunately he was diagnosed with I think lymphoma cancer, and
I saw
so
that one when he started talking about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so he hasn't posted much in a while. So prayers that he gets better soon, or yeah. Um,
definitely.
And
All
then
right.
this, I guess, the last one is a guy named Schaefer Nickel. We don't have to look him up, or unless you want to, but he is like one of the best writers I've ever seen on YouTube, and he just makes really cool work.
Schaefer Nickel. All right, just
It's
double check that this is him. Is this him?
That's the guy.
Okay. All right.
That is the
I'll
guy.
I'll check him out as well. So
Yeah.
okay,
But
what and then locals? I would imagine the people that you've already talked about. Was there anyone else that you think just locally that maybe you've worked alongside that
yeah,
really has sharpened you? I mean, obviously you've talked about Brian. You talked about Chris, right? Was it Chris?
Chris.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. You've talked about the two guys that are in the studio. Well, it's Brian's studio, but then you also talked about somebody else that was in the studio with 99
Grant.
Native. Yeah,
Yeah,
Grant.
Grant
Yeah.
Watson. Man, there's just so many people, and I honestly I feel like I haven't. I still want to meet a lot more people in the creative community here in Birmingham, because I don't shoot on traditional sets. I mainly just do freelance social media videos, and normally I'm by myself whenever I shoot, and so a lot of that cross collaboration that you would get on a more traditional set, like if I'm PAing, assisting for somebody, or working with a DP from another side of town. But I actually got to meet Alex Kiker through Grant. So Brian was shooting at Alice Beach out in Florida, and Grant was as well. And I was assisting Brian. Alex was assisting Grant, and we all stayed in the same beach house for a day, and it was awesome just getting to chat about just each other's careers and our interests, and we've been friends ever since. And he actually shot here at the studio 2 nights ago, and so I got to kind of see the behind the scenes. And um, also, I've met him once, but Dustin Harrelson, I
Yeah.
think I'm saying his last name right, but I love his
Yeah.
YouTube videos so much. Like he talks about just just the ups and downs of being a freelancer, and kind of the behind the scenes of his own work. And I just think he makes an amazing work. I found Dehancer, which is a color grading software, like film emulation, through his video, and I actually got it, and I use it to color grade half my clips. And
Yeah.
we don't know each other super well, but we keep up on Instagram, and I ran into him on a shoot one day. But I love his work as well.
Yeah.
There's so
Both
many
of
other
those
people.
guys. Yeah, both of those guys are solid. I mean, all the people you've mentioned, even the ones I don't know, seem to be solid. But Alex, when I got a chance to get coffee with Alex, not shortly after I did a podcast interview with him. He's so humble and doesn't like he doesn't see himself the way that I think most everyone else sees him, with how talented he is, especially his motion graphics.
Oh my
Dude,
gosh.
it's incredible. Every time he
Yeah.
does one, I'm like, you should not be that good at what you're
Yeah.
doing, but yet he's so good at it. And he, but he talks about it like he's like, oh man, I don't know, I'm just
Yeah.
learning. And I'm like, if that's just learning, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm still, I don't even think I've touched software before. You know, like
Yeah.
he's really talented. And then the stuff he's doing now on Instagram every night, he seems like he's setting up a new lighting setup
Oh my gosh.
and
I'm like
testing it out in
taking,
his apartment.
I have to take notes every time I see one of his stories because I'm like, I don't know how you just set up this Hollywood level lighting setup in your room with one
Yeah,
key light and a few tube lights, but he's like a magician whenever it comes to lighting
yeah,
and his
yeah,
motion, like his animated posters. I think that's what I first saw of his motion
yeah.
graphics. I thought that was like an Instagram Explorer, like suggested reel from like some famous After Effects editor, but it was
It
Alex, and
it
I was like,
was it
yeah,
was his
yeah, oh
name's
yeah,
Alex Kiker.
exactly, yeah,
he
yeah, he,
No, he's really good, and the fact that so much of the stuff, at least that I've seen early on, I know whenever I did his interview, he was talking about how most of that was just him doing it on his own, like almost like spec work, and I was like, my gosh, for that to be spec work, the quality of it is incredible. I mean, I know of so many people that would love to have that kind of work done for them
yeah,
professionally, or in my case, just I wish I could do that kind of level of work.
yeah,
And
absolutely, and he's a great photographer too. So it's
yeah,
like he's not a jack of all trades; he's kind of the master of all trades. Like he can just do do everything.
yeah, and
Um,
Dustin's okay. Doesn't yeah. No, I think we could both rave on both of them for quite some time.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah, they're
they're really
incredible.
talented. Well, last thing I want to ask you about, and this is something more. Um, I'm curious to know. This might be like the most contentious question I ask you, also. So forgive me if it's offensive at
Okay.
all.
I'll
But
walk in.
yeah, lock in on this one. Who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Oh gosh.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
Come
that is a
on.
great
I
question. And
mean,
I don't like
you were born in the early 2000s, so I mean, you were born
yeah.
right there with like the sort of the beginning of all the series of Spider-Man movies. So,
Mhm.
who delivered the best?
I mean, there is always a soft spot in my heart for Tobey Maguire because he is the first. I mean, he's the Spider-Man. Just like he started the cinematic franchise for
Yeah.
with Sam Raimi. And so like I mean I love Tobey Maguire. And it just like kind of teleports me back to me being a kid and seeing Spider-Man 1 for the first time. I think Andrew Garfield is the best actor of the three, but I don't think he's the best Spider-Man. I'll say it. I
I
love the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I love the fact that they sort of did the whole like skater kind of guy with him. You know,
Yeah.
like I felt like that really translated well to just like the footwork of Spider-Man, the mobility of him
Yeah.
in general. Like I really
That's
liked
true.
him being a skateboarder, and
But he was too
I wish
cool.
more of them would have done that.
Yeah, that's true. Like how their coordination should translate to their everyday lives. But
But
I
I
think
guess
this is
Peter Parker's supposed to be a little bit like not that guy, I guess, before he gets bitten by the
yeah.
spider. So
Like Andrew Garfield looked like he should be like on an Axe commercial, not like a nerd that gets bullied in high school. I
that's
think Tom
true.
Holland, honestly, like I don't know if Spider-Man: Homecoming is my favorite Spider-Man movie, but I think he did the best job of playing both roles,
Yeah.
of being Peter Parker and also being an excellent Spider-Man. And so, like, I don't want to take the easy cop out answer where like I love all three and think they have different strengths and weaknesses. But like after seeing Spider-Man: No Way Home and seeing like the different variation and like what kinds of Spider-Man they were are and how that like translated on screen, it just made me appreciate all three. And like I'm a sucker for the new Spider Verse movies, the
Oh
Spider
yeah.
Verse, on the
Yeah.
Spider Verse, or
Yeah,
yeah, Spider Verse.
Miles Morales, man, that's such a great character.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
like he. I think the second Spider Verse movie might be one of my all time favorite films, just for so many different reasons, like the animation, the score, just the storytelling. The dad is by far one of my favorite characters in any movie. I don't know why. He's hilarious. He reminds me
Yeah.
of my own dad, and he's just like their dynamic is just so funny. And so like I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Morales like kind of exceeds the other Spider-Man on my list after this third movie, whenever it comes out. But
If it ever comes out at this point, I just saw it was delayed again for some reason. So
yeah,
as long
I'd
as
rather it be delayed.
yeah, I'd rather it be delayed than it come out like what was it called, the Madam Web.
Oh no,
Did you
yeah,
watch that?
no, I heard enough reviews about it, and I just didn't want it to, you know.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but what they finally delivered should have been delayed. If they had a good idea, I think it could have been a lot better.
Yeah, no, I'm like you can delay it 5 years. I don't care if it ties a pretty bow on the trilogy. I'll wait as long as you want me to. So
Yeah. Yeah. I do think Tom Holland does a good job at least of looking like a teenager. I don't think the
yeah,
other two looked like teenagers. They didn't look like they could have been in high school. Maybe because Tom Holland could have been still in high school whenever he did
yeah,
the first few at least. So
for sure.
yeah.
No,
All right. Well, listen, Dylane, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really enjoyed just getting to know you a little bit. I mean, I've been watching your work for a while and am a huge fan. So it's nice to sort of meet the personality and hear sort of the story and just sort of know a little bit more of where you come from. So props on all the work. Look forward to seeing much more in the future.
yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Brian. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I'm excited to continue to hear about the journeys of other creatives here in the city as you continue to interview others. So, yeah, thanks again for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, man.